Well, hey everyone, I am back from Seattle and I have some things to show you. Most of it is actually music, because I went out to Seattle for a festival. I went to Northwest Terror Fest, which is held at Seattle in Numos and Barboza, which is two music venues that are connected in one place. And I got quite a few records up there, and I also got one Blu-ray, but I wanted to show you a little bit of my journey. So before we get into that, here are some clips of me just going around doing different random things. It's not terribly exciting, but besides that, I'll get to this in a second. So enjoy.
Alright, I'm in Scarecrow Video. I'm not going to film that much, but I'm here to pick up some good stuff. This place is huge. This place is awesome. These are all rentals you can get. Looks like around the world. And yeah, it's crazy. This place is a labyrinth. This place is a big labyrinth. I don't know. I have everything here. Jeez. Woo. Tripped.
Alright, I hope you enjoyed a little bit of that footage. There wasn't too much I wanted to film, mainly because I just felt like I wanted to explore the city on my own without really technology, but I did record a little bit, obviously, and I did actually get something at Scarecrow Video, and that thing is Nanook of the North. And this also comes with like 5 other things right here, with The Wedding Apollo and other films in Arctic Life. Now this has 6 bonus films on top of these. So there's Nanook of the North, which came out in 1922, which is a groundbreaking film, and I actually knew about this quite some time ago because I've always looked at the history of film, and this is definitely one of the ones that stood out. And so it's talking just about Eskimo life and Inuit life, and how it's disappearing, and how it was disappearing kind of as this tale has been recorded by the director. And so that's what's really interesting to me, is that this is a historical and also just a really awesome thing to own, and there's extra things with it too. So it's a Flickr Alley collection right here. There's a Blu-ray edition. It cost me a little much, an arm and a leg, a little bit. It was around 35 bucks, but I wanted to get something from that place. Scarecrow Video was amazing. If anyone is familiar with Scarecrow Video, actually one of my subscribers, thank you so much for giving that information to me. I checked it out and I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoy that there's a place that you can still go out there and rent film, and just it's in any avenue you want to go to. You can just, you can rent something that is just like the days in Blockbuster, or you can rent something like from Criterion or from Flickr Alley, or a foreign film, anime. There's even a little section for the adult films, and it's just a lot of things that just, you could just see, and it was really cool, and I thought that was awesome. So I was really happy to go by and at least get one thing. So the other things that I picked up, since I went to Seattle for music, I would at least wanted to show you some of the musical pickups that I picked up. I got quite a few records, so here we go. Alright, so the first record is actually a classic from 1993. I'm relatively new to this band. I actually only know of their self-titled album that actually only came out a couple years ago, but this is Slow Dive that I'm talking about. This is Slovaki. And this is the album that really put them on the map, and really was the one that got this band kind of on the map, in a sense that this is a genre that I feel like a lot of people are particularly familiar with. This is a shoegaze type of genre, and shoegaze is a really great rock genre that has elements of dream pop and synth, and it kind of reminds me of The Cure sometimes. Another band that kind of really echoes this is probably Beach House, that I would say is a really good comparison to Slowdive, and Slowdive's still a band, so I think they quit for a little bit and came back, but this is one of their classic albums, and so I'm really happy to own this. I'm really happy just to have found it, so that was definitely a must that I had to get. Next, we're actually moving on to a metal record that I have right here. It's a Russian band, and I feel like there's a lot of other elements I'm missing about this. They sing in Finnish, I want to say, and some of them live in Poland or something like that. It's very complicated. I didn't look up anything before this, but I remember their most recent output, which was one of my favorite albums of the year, and I plan on doing an entire vinyl collection video sometime in the future, and I would really like to show you everything that I own. But this is a metal band from Russia, and they had elements of all sorts to this particular metal act. This is a black metal band that uses elements of folk metal and also different instrumentation from like the cello and the violin and the piano as well. And it's beautiful, it's chaotic, it's a great mixture of a lot of things. This is their first album right here. Actually, I only picked it up because it was one of their first albums, and it's Lumicaro, and it's also just beautiful artwork. I really like the artwork here on this one right here. I just wanted to show you a little bit about this. That's what vinyls are all about, is showing you the artwork. So there's in the back, we got all the people who were involved: saxophone, backing vocal, violin, and cello, and all the metal instruments from guitar to drums. So yeah, just a really cool thing that I picked up. And so Kauan, K-A-U-A-N. If you haven't heard them, you should check them out, especially their latest output. It's very soothing and very relaxing, and I absolutely love it. And it's definitely metal, but in a different way. The next thing I'm going to show you is something I used to hate. I just not enjoyed her voice, but this is Joanna Newsom, and this is her first record. This is Milk-Eyed Mender. This came out in the early 2000s as well, so it's fairly old, but this is actually the wife of Andy Samberg, and I actually knew about them separately from each other. So I used to work in a record store here in town, and Joanna Newsom kind of came across my radar, and I really didn't particularly care for her vocals, because she's a very interesting vocalist who plays the harp and the piano and sings, and she has elements of Baroque music and indie folk kind of related things, but it's really hard to pigeonhole where she's at, but she's very unique, very, very unique. She's got very squeaky voice, and she also it reminds me of elements of Bjork, but like at the same time is like really, really unique on her own thing. But anyway, I digress. This is her first album. This is the one that I'm probably least familiar with. I'm most familiar with her latest output, Divers, and Why Yes. And Have One on Me is the other album that she has out. But she's only put out a few albums, and she's done quite a few things for herself, and she's amazing. And she's actually in Inherent Vice. Speaking of film, I realize I probably diverged a little bit from the film talk, but she's in a couple of things, and Paul Thomas Anderson is a good friend of hers, and so that's why they're there. So Milk-Eyed Mender, I'm really excited to put this on the record player and just check it out. I mean, I've heard it before. So next is actually one of my favorite metal bands of all time. It's a defunct group, and all their members are scattered in different projects, and this is a band that has a controversial name, but ISIS. This is Mosquito Control. This is a re-released EP. It's their first thing they ever put out. And this is the re-released EP they can't put out either last year or the year before, or this year, I don't remember when. But I really love this band. It's one of those bands that has always kind of shocked me from the first time I listened to them. The genre, I would say, is post-metal, which is a kind of combination of, heavy metal music where it has some sludge and death elements to it, mixed in with Slowdive and the Cure, and just got some really nice, really slow build-up. Like, Godspeed You Black Emperor, or, Explosions in the Sky. These are the metal contemporaries of those artists. And so ISIS has been around for a while. They remind me of The Cure meets Neurosis, honestly. That's probably the best way I can describe it. And I know I'm name-dropping a lot of things, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, that's perfectly fine. You can skip this part. But ISIS has been a thing that I've really loved ever since I came in contact with this band. And unfortunately, they really grew on me after they existed. I just love this band so much and everything they put out. They have two really legendary albums called Oceanic and Panopticon, and those albums are fantastic. And I highly recommend you checking out ISIS if you have an open mind and an open heart. So check out this. This is probably one of their heavier sides of things, though, because it's one of their first things. Next is actually a band that I saw up in Seattle when I went to Northwest Terror Fest, and that is Dead to a Dying World. This is their latest album, Elegy. And Elegy is a fantastic piece of work. It's beautiful. I had to hold this for a while, so you might see some of my finger stains as I was watching the band. But there are several members in this band. I think I counted 8. The main vocalist was sick, and so he had a replacement with a woman, and there's another woman who does harsh vocals, and there's another guy who does clean vocals, and then there's a violin player, a drummer, 2 guitarists, and a bass player. So there's a lot of people in the band, but it's really beautiful. It mixes black metal with other elements, and it's really gorgeous. And as I can tell you, there's some themes with some of the music that I listen to and I can tell you about. But this is a really great band. If you haven't heard Dead to a Dying World, you should check them out because it's really fantastic. And then at a record store that I was up in, Sonic Boom, which is where I got most of these things, and also from the bands themselves. Next is actually a band that I've loved for quite some time. This is actually my favorite album of theirs, and I have not really ever really come across this album, so I wanted to pick it up, and that is Wolves in the Throne Room. This is Two Hunters. This is the album they put out that is kind of put them on the map, and they are a band from Washington, I believe, and they are just phenomenal, and they are a black metal band. They are a atmospheric black metal band, so there's only 4 songs on this like 50+ minute album, and a lot of it is, you know, just really interesting nature and ethereal sounds mixed in with the harshness of black metal and the chaotic Cascadian elements to it, and I really love it. And it's something that is not for everybody. Black metal is not a genre for everybody, and that's perfectly fine, but these guys are really communing with nature a lot with their stuff. They really speak a lot about Mother Earth, so it's really cool. And I would highly recommend checking these guys out if you haven't seen or heard of Wolves in the Throne Room. Next, we're going to take a huge step to a different side, to A Better Oblivion Community Center. This is with Connor Oberst and Phoebe Bridgers, and I am a big fan of Phoebe Bridgers. In fact, I actually picked this up a couple days ago. This is actually Stranger in the Alps. This is actually her first album, Phoebe Bridgers, and she is one half of this, and that's actually what got me this on the map. I'll talk about this in a second. But Phoebe Bridgers kind of opened me up to the side of this indie rock that I really like, and this female singer-songwriter element to it. I also know Julian Baker and Lucy Dacus. They actually have a supergroup called Boy Genius, which is also really great. But Better Oblivion Community Center, Connor Oberst has been around for quite some time. I've never been a particular fan of his, but I really like the combination of these two with Phoebe and Connor. And I think this is a really fantastic album, and if you haven't checked this out, this is one of the best things that came out this year, and I highly recommend checking it out. Now back to Phoebe Bridgers. Like I said, this is her first album that came out back in like 2017, Stranger in the Alps. This is one of the coolest melancholic albums I've ever heard, and I love it. And this actually, the person I went to Seattle with, one of my best friends, he is the one who got me involved and interested in her, and I just highly recommend it. If you haven't checked out Phoebe Bridgers, that's definitely somebody you should check out. And the last thing we are going to move to is actually a huge metal band that is making a lot of waves recently. I've known about them for a little bit, but that band is Thou, Thou, as in thou art, or something like that. But Thou, this is Magus. This is the, honestly, the magnum opus of that year. They actually released 4 EPs before this album, I believe, and this is all in the same year. This is a massive album, and it's a massive band from Louisiana, and they were actually just on NPR and also Audio Tree, which if you are a music lover, you know what those are. So they just did acoustic sets for them for the most part. But I really like this band quite a bit. They are a really heavy sludge metal band, and they can also do acoustic if they want to. And this is just a band that's just raw and disgusting and great, and it's just beautiful at the same time. And so there's all these awesome just different little things here. But yeah, Thou, if you haven't heard Thou, at least check out the NPR or the Tiny Desk concert from NPR, or the Audio Tree live. Check those out for sure. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed my vinyl pickups. I think I'm going to start doing vinyl pickup videos if I ever get the chance to, but let me know down below if you're interested in seeing a complete vinyl collection, because I'd love doing that. But I hope you enjoy my music pickups, and also my one film pickup, which actually has like 8 films with it, so all together. And so I hope you enjoyed this little video. I know it was a little gathered together, and it wasn't one of my normal videos, that's for sure. But anyway, I want to say thank you so much for checking this video out. Give me a like, comment down below, share this video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next time. I'm not jonesing around.